So get this. Australia is about to kick off a massive, world-first experiment. They're drawing a hard line in the digital sand and are planning to ban social media for anyone under the age of 16. Let's break down what this really means, why it's even happening, and, what the ripple effects could be across the globe. And really, this entire massive debate, it all boils down to this one big question. This is the why behind this incredibly bold, some would say drastic move. What on earth is the evidence that's so compelling that a whole country would decide to do something like this? Well, when you look at the science behind this decision, wow, it's pretty staggering. A growing body of research is pointing to a whole list of really negative impacts. We're talking about serious cognitive issues like messing with memory and self-control, and at the same time, we're seeing these huge spikes in mental health challenges like anxiety and depression. And that's not even getting into the constant pressure of, digital comparison that leads to poor self-esteem, or the messed up sleep from scrolling all night, and of course, the constant risk of cyberbullying. So you take all of this scientific concern, and it really leads to one single motivation, this desire to give kids a shot at an unplugged childhood. Or at the very least, one where their most formative years aren't totally dominated by the pressures of social media. And here it is, the official goal. The government's been really clear that their aim isn't just to protect kids from online harm, but to actually give something back to them, what they're calling a real childhood, and in the process, hopefully offer some much-needed peace of mind to parents everywhere. Right at the heart of this whole problem are these things called addictive algorithms. You gotta think of them like these little engines, right? And their only job is to keep your eyes glued to the screen. They create this powerful feedback loop. They watch what you look at, what you like, what you share, and then they just feed you this endless, perfectly personalized stream of more of the same. For a brain that's still developing, that constant little hit of dopamine can be almost impossible to resist, which makes it a key target of this new law. So how is Australia actually responding to this? Well, faced with all this data, they've decided on a policy that is, let's just say, anything but subtle. It's a very clear line in the digital sand. They're taking a stand that's honestly one of the most restrictive in the entire world. They're moving way beyond just suggestions or parental controls and going straight for an outright ban. And here it is, the number at the absolute heart of this ban, 16. That is the new minimum age for anyone in Australia to legally have an account on any of the major social media platforms. Okay, so a ban sounds pretty intense, but how is this thing actually supposed to work in the real world? I mean, the details are what's going to make or break a policy like this. First off, this isn't just flipping a switch overnight. The law itself, the Online Safety Amendment Act, was passed back in November of 2024, but it gives tech companies and, the public a bit of a runway. The ban officially kicks in on December 10th, 2025. Now, this is a super important point. This is not a total ban on the internet for kids. The law is actually very specific. It's targeting the platforms built on those addictive, algorithm-driven, endless scroll feeds. You know the ones: TikTok, Instagram, YouTube. The whole goal is to limit exposure to that model. But essential tools for talking to people, for school, for getting help, things like WhatsApp, Google Classroom, and the Kids Helpline, they're all exempt. Even a gaming platform like Roblox, which is seen as more of an interactive space than a passive scrolling one, isn't included. And this right here, might be the most significant detail of the entire law. It is absolute. Unlike rules in other parts of the world, parents cannot just give their consent to get around the age limit. There are no loopholes, no exceptions, period. So how do you make sure these giant tech companies actually comply? Well, the government is backing this thing up with some serious financial muscle. Companies that fail to put in effective age verification and block underage accounts can face fines of up to 50 million Australian dollars. Now, that is a pretty powerful incentive to take this seriously. So all of this raises a bigger question. Is Australia just an outlier here, totally going it alone? Or is this part of a much wider global movement? Let's take a look at the context. This slide really shows a stark contrast, doesn't it? I mean, while a lot of countries are worried we're seeing laws pop up at the state level in the US and regulations in Europe, their efforts have mostly focused on things like parental controls, which frankly have pretty mixed results. Australia's approach is a hard ban with no parental override, and that's a direct response to the huge enforcement problems and kids just lying about their age everywhere else. And these right here, these are the hurdles that have tripped up so many other countries. I mean, the billion-dollar question is, how do you actually verify someone's age online without creating a massive privacy nightmare? Do you use AI facial scanning, require digital IDs? And what's to stop a teen from just lying about their birthday or jumping over to a different unregulated platform? These are the huge challenges that Australia's model is going to have to solve. So this brings us to the big question. What happens now? Australia has basically set the stage for a massive, real-world test. A global experiment is officially underway. And make no mistake, every single government, every parent, and yeah, every tech company on the planet is going to be watching this. If Australia can actually pull this off, if they succeed in protecting their kids without totally crippling online life, their law could become the template for the rest of the world. Ultimately, we are left with this one fundamental question. Is this Australian law a new blueprint, a real plan for protecting the mental health of an entire generation? Or is it just an idealistic but ultimately unenforceable dream in our deeply connected digital world? I guess only time will tell.